Hello, everybody. Welcome to Incompetent Sports Talk along with Mike Graben and Jordan Loprena. I'm Alex Salzma, and look at this. We're in the new studio. It's a lot bigger, a lot wider, a lot cooler looking. So that means we're going to have better shows for you this semester, and I think these guys agree. And a lot happened when we were off for semester break. A lot happened in football, a little baseball admissions, both in college and NFL. Football, a lot happened. So what was the biggest, in your opinion, what was the biggest story that happened over break? I'll give you mine right now. And I think it was, in college football, it was 3 big-time coaches, 3 successful coaches, long-tenured coaches that were fired for misconduct with players. First, it was Mark Mangino for verbal abuse of players. And this is a guy that started off 5-1 this year. His team was ranked 2 years ago. He was coach of the year, then finished off the season 5-7. And then that kind of correlated with the demise, really, with his job. I mean, the last couple of games, it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that he was going to be gone as the coach. And we kind of thought that was maybe an isolated incident. You know, Mark Mangino might be the only coach going for this, because it's not every day you see coaches leaving for academic reasons, or, excuse me, conduct reasons. And then Mike Leach, 10 years, celebrated coach, bowl game every year. And then a high-profile guy, Craig James, his son says, you know, there's the whole thing with the concussions and the shed. And then he's gone as coach. Then Jim Leavitt hit a player, allegedly, and then he's gone. So I think, to me, these coaches, I mean, a lot of this stuff these coaches might have gotten away with 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You know, you got the generals like Bear Bryant. They probably could get away with things like this. But now in today's day and age, with Twitter, with Facebook, with 24 hours news on ESPN, you can't get away with this kind of stuff anymore. And especially, it seemed like, too, that maybe these guys are kind of wearing out their welcomes. Maybe, you know, with Leavitt, you know, the ascension to number 2 and kind of the fizzles off at the end of the seasons, you know, the last couple of years. Mike Leach, you know, last year trying to shop himself for maybe the Washington job. Maybe that kind of led to his demise. I don't know. But what do you guys think? What do you guys have?
Well, I think one, just outside of college football, obviously the Mark McGwire, it wasn't news. I mean, we all knew it had happened. You just kind of almost liked to see someone take responsibility for their actions and come out and say it. I'm not saying he deserves, you know, any sympathy from anyone, but, you know, I was happy that he, I guess, satisfied as a baseball fan that he went ahead and did that. But really, I think college football coaching in general, the biggest story so far, you look at, you know, you mentioned Mangino, Leavitt, Leach. Those are all guys that built up the programs that they were currently at. And, you know, Mangino, I'm not sure what people thought of him at Kansas, but I know that Leach and Leavitt both had huge fan bases within their universities, you know, fan base. So, you know, that was big. I think you look at just the fact that there are so many coaches hopping around, the whole Urban Meyer thing, which he's going to be back for spring practice, so not really sure.
All for nothing.
That was basically, I think, him thinking out loud. Yeah. And then they held a press conference and wasted a lot of people's time with it. And then you look at Pete Carroll leaving USC. That's going to change the shape of college football, at least out west. And then, you know, you look at what Lane Kiffin did. Obviously, maybe, you know, it is a better job going out to USC, but I just think that college football coaching in general, whether it is the misconduct with the players or whether it's the, you know, lack of loyalty, i.e. Lane Kiffin, I just think that the college football coaching carousel in general, a large story in you know, and then more locally, and I know Mike's going to get to this, but, you know, I got to say the Big Ten winning 4 games in their bowl games against top 15 teams, that was outstanding and much needed.
Lane Kiffin, a lot of people are giving Lane Kiffin a lot of heat for what he did, but I don't blame the guy at all, and I'm not going to criticize the guy at all, because this is his dream job, and I really think he was sincere in the press conference when he made the admission that, you know what, this is the only job I would have left Tennessee for. I believe him completely. And, you know, who knows when this kind of opportunity is going to come up again. You know, his name's hot right now. Maybe, let's say, 5 years down the line, let's say the guy who would have gone to USC wasn't successful. And let's say Kiffin wasn't successful at Tennessee. His name might have not even been in the mix anymore. Exactly. So I think the time was perfect. His staff right now is perfect as it is, especially with Monty Kiffin. He's getting old. I mean, they probably wouldn't have had him in 5 years, you know, if that opportunity came up. So I think, as far as Kiffin goes, I agree with him. And for McGwire, I'm glad he came out and admitted it, but for me it was almost a hollow admission, because to me, he didn't come out completely and say the fact that, you know what, steroids actually helped me. I wouldn't have been able to play at this level without steroids, because he did admit he used steroids, but he wouldn't really admit the fact that it made him a better hitter. And that's what I wanted to hear him say. I wanted to hear him say, I took steroids, and I wouldn't have hit as many home runs without steroids. Mike, what are your thoughts on everything?
Well, McGuire's taken that first step, and that's very important. I think eventually down the road he may come to that admission and really satisfy you and the rest of us out there. I think Lane Kiffin also made the right decision personally. Tennessee fans are upset. I would be upset as well, but he had so much success as an assistant and as a coordinator at USC. He's bringing the staff at Tennessee who did a great job recruiting and getting some guys in there. I think Kiffin made the right decision. Pete Carroll going to Seattle, that's going to be an interesting saga. We'll have to see how that plays out. He steals Minnesota's offensive coordinator, Jed Fish, takes him to be the quarterback's coach. And then an interesting note for me to college basketball. Right now, we've got a team in Kentucky who wasn't a tournament team last year. They're number 1 in the country and undefeated. And then we've got North Carolina winning the national title last year, my Tar Heels. Out of the top 25, second to last in the ACC, struggling, having some injuries, but you know what? They have the depth and they have the talent. They're just not getting it done. The ACC is sloppy this year. It's not like the ACC is an extremely strong conference in basketball this year. It's going to be interesting to see where they go. So I'm hoping the UNC personally, they'll get better. And I think it's better for college basketball when they're up there as well.
And other perennial power, UCLA, just having an awful year too. Not even really awful to the extent that North Carolina's having. At least North Carolina has a winning record. I mean, they'll still probably have to limp into the NCAA tournament, but UCLA, they might not even go to the NCAA tournament. As looking right now, they might even go to the NIT.
Right.
The way they're playing. I mean, they probably will because they have strung together some good wins as of late. But any other comments?
And one note, as Jordan said, the Big Ten and bowl games, going 4-3, especially 2-0 in the BCS bowl games, winning the Rose Bowl, winning the Orange Bowl, so huge, has major positive implications for the future of the Big Ten. I think we're going to start to see some of the sentiments, some of the attitudes change, and we're well on our way. So let's hope we can continue that into next year.
And let me just say, I am very happy that Ohio State won the Rose Bowl.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
If they're going to, knock us out and win the Big Ten and go represent us in the Rose Bowl finally, since they're finally back there for the first time since Joe Germain was their quarterback, they represented the Big Ten well. Oregon was by far the best Pac-10 team in in their conference this year, and Ohio State just really played a great game. So kudos to them.
And even in defeat, even the Big Ten teams that were in defeat, Minnesota, Northwestern, and Michigan State, all competed very hard. Minnesota obviously losing on a late fumble by a point. Northwestern in a hard-fought overtime game, having Stephen Demos come out. And then Michigan State, who everybody thought was going to get blown out, had a lead in the fourth quarter, was playing well, but just couldn't pull it out. So very, very strong performance from the Big Ten. Made me proud to be a Big Ten fan.
Absolutely. And mark these games on your calendar next year. I know it's early. Miami goes to Ohio State. Penn State goes to Alabama. Iowa goes to Arizona. So we're going to be putting that credibility on the line early next season. So it'll be interesting for football. It's never too early, never too late to talk about football. So we'll do it. We'll probably bring it up again in March, February. We'll talk about football because that's just the way we are.
Miami, Ohio State is going to be a great game. Two great quarterbacks.
That's right.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a good game. Corey Harris can be great when he wants to be.
Yeah.
I like giving Corey Harris crap.